gosh. Okay, that looks like ready to start. All right, take two. So I just did this, but I had neglected to stream it to Facebook. So I'm starting again. All right, sorry for the lack of consistency in time. I didn't mean to start at on the hour today, but this is what it is. Okay, so back to the beginning. This is my very inexpert picture of a web. Imagine a spider web. Actually, there should be lines here. Anyway, imagine a spider web, and these little circles on the spider web are human beings. The big circle in the middle is the universal soul. It's called the head of the generation, Rosh B'nai Israel. It's the tzaddik, the universal soul, the central soul of every generation. And all the other dots are people, represent people. So if you are aware that we all are existing inside of this giant cosmic web where information flows through certain channels, a lot of different channels. That's very, very simple diagram. But each one of us is like the center, sending out information and energy into the system, into the entire cosmos, and also receiving. So again, look at this, very imperfect and not complete. But if you imagine each person as part of this node, each one of us has our own individual perceptions, our unique perceptions, our unique way of looking at things, our unique way of doing things, of perceiving, of receiving things. And each one of us is processing everything that comes our way, whether it's through other people or whether through our own inner impulses or things that happen to us. And we're responding, we're reacting through our filter and then sending out that information, that filtered information and energy into the web. Some of the ways that every person can influence the whole, but it's also true that every person is influenced by the whole. So we think of us as sovereign individuals that, you know, I'm in a bad mood because, you know, my foot hurt when I went to bed last night, or because someone looked at me sideways, or because, you know, the truth is that we're picking up a flow of information from all of these different sources. All this information is coming to us. Some of the lines that we're connected to are more direct, others are more indirect, but everything is flowing ultimately through everything and through everyone. And then because each of us has predispositions, because we've been influenced by others, because we have, you know, past life experiences, because we have other people's experiences from our ancestral line in our DNA. So each one of us is literally a filter through which information is perceived and integrated and out projected, expressed out. So if you think about it, you can see that everything is made of reactions and cross reactions that are flowing back and forth and inside out and all over the place, so that things can become easily very confused. And that's one of the reasons why it's very, very hard to maintain, very challenging to maintain a grounded sense of self regardless of what's happening around you. This is on the overt, obvious level, and it's also on the covert, inside energetic level. Now, in our times, this isn't even counting the fact that news is blasting out, you know, narratives to us, and people are, you know, blasting out their emotions on us, and, you know, and we're going through our own daily experiences. But on the energetic level, everything is, the filters between us are also very, very, very transparent now. Much more so, much thinner, much more, there's much more space within the lines that distinguish, the curtains that distinguish, or the filters that distinguish between one of us and another one are very transparent these days. So, and that is also emphasized, supported by, or aggravated by the fact that we're all connected on this worldwide web, where we're all getting information from everywhere and everyone all the time. And even if you're not getting it directly from someone, you're getting it from somewhere else, because they're getting it from somewhere else. So we're connected in massive numbers of ways, holographically, as well as overtly. And the thing is that we can only be free to the extent that you can identify where you actually are and what is actually yours. So some healing modalities, I said this in take one, some healing modalities actually train students to ask themselves the questions, not a bad idea, whose is this? Like if you have a reaction, you know, you get in a bad mood, does this happen to you? It's happened to me many times that I'll be standing in the middle of a room or sitting somewhere, or when I wake up in the morning, or, you know, just randomly, and all of a sudden I'll feel super irritated, or I'll feel anxious, or, you know, some mood shift that doesn't seem to correlate with anything that actually just happened to me. And I think a lot of that is that we are receiving energies that aren't ours, that are so now strongly able to permeate our own node, our own place, our own circle, that we can't really distinguish easily between whether that's ours or whether it's someone else's. So the exercise for today is to actually practice distinguishing what is your place? Where are you? Which of these, you know, where are you in this web? And it's not just this picture is a flat plane, but in fact, each one of us is connected above through we're connected through our soul. Our soul is perceiving. Our soul is like a satellite dish in some way. Some ways that's perceiving divine information, perceiving information from multiple dimensions all at the same time. So we want that connection to be very, very clear. I'll say more about that in a second. And then we're each also receiving information from below or from side, you know, from this earthly plane, both inside of ourselves, our own emotional triggers and, you know, our own wiring, and outside of ourselves. So one of the ways that you can more clearly and strongly root yourself in where you are and who you are is by, I want you to picture aligning your roots going up, the roots of your soul going up into source, and the roots of your body and your personality going into the core of your heart. So let me speak to this just a little bit. So when it comes to understanding or to receiving more perception of your soul without the interference of everything that's going on through this vast, intricate, tangled web full of reactivity and cross-reactivity, every time somebody, you know, looked askance at somebody else, that person had a reaction that then spread to somebody else, that then spread to somebody else, that came back and got more convoluted. It's a very tangled web. It's a very tangled web. So we want to start to untangle it. So if you can practice opening your mind, that would especially be the right brain, but the left brain too, like a bowl to receive. So you want to see your mind. You can practice this when you wake up in the morning, when you go to sleep at night. You can practice this a few times a day. Meditation can do this, but I want you to take the stance as you're meditating, as you're practicing, of listening. So what are you listening to? You're just listening. You can listen to your body. You can listen to the ambient movements of the air. It's not just listening with your ears. It's having yourself on receive. So your skin can be on receive. Your senses, your eye, you know, your vision can be on receive. Your self-awareness of your body can be on receive. We practiced watching our thoughts going across the screen. That's a kind of receive. So you want to practice throughout the rest of this month, if possible, open mind, beginner's mind, receiving, receiving, receiving. Try not to have an opinion about things that's exactly like the opinion you had so many times before. So the more you can put your mind, the right brain and also the left brain, on receive, on open, like that satellite dish, open to receive, the more new information, the more actual perception from above you're going to be able to experience and hopefully to integrate as well. One of the other ways that you can do this in terms of rooting yourself above, just picture yourself as having roots coming out of the top of your head, going to heaven, going to the source of your soul, and then roots coming down from the bottom of your body, going into the earth and all around. So you are rooted where you are and aligned, top to bottom, bottom to top. You're one aligned system. That's the visual that you're working on. So the other thing that you can do besides this open, holding space, listening, which is so powerful. It's so healing. If you master this, total compassionate neutrality in perceiving, in opening, in asking questions and getting answers. I know I'm just touching the surface of this. This is something I work with a lot with my students and myself. The other thing that you can do is to ask yourself, what is it that I really want? I talked about this a bit yesterday. But when you ask yourself, what is it that I really want? to experience in this situation, first of all, notice you're asking a question. Anytime you ask a question of yourself, you're listening automatically. If you can hold that space of the questions, very powerful. When you ask yourself what you want and you actually get some clarity on that, here's a big secret I'm going to tell you. What you genuinely want at the core of your being is part of your soul's purpose. Now, there's some rules, there's some caveats to that, but if it's something that you genuinely want, not a don't want, not a need, not a fear, not a should, not a reaction to something or somebody else, but something you genuinely want. Now, if you were in the session where we did the word exercise, I think that was day 4. If you weren't there, I strongly suggest you go back and listen to that, watch that, and participate. But when you think about a word that gives you a really, really powerful vibration, a positive vibration like love or connectivity or magic or magnificence or truth is a really big one for me, or freedom or whatever, that's going to give you a strong clue as to what your soul actually is here for, in part. So those things that you truly desire, just, in a nutshell for today, if you can be in touch with those are coming from the roots. That's a flow from the roots, from your soul. It's a really good thing to know. And then when it comes to the roots from the ground, one of the strongest ways that, the soul is basically communicating, for the most part, with the mind. Our consciousness is hopefully opening to receive more of the light and awareness of our soul. We want the consciousness of our mind to be a channel, a vessel, a receptacle for the consciousness of our soul. That's what we want to do with the mind, which is why in the Gateway Community School, it's primarily a learning program where we're digging into the sacred texts to put new divine consciousness into the brain, which changes the brain actually even on a physical level and makes the brain much more of an antenna to tune into that divine consciousness in every moment of life. From the roots from the bottom, the roots into the earth, that's more in the heart. Now, of course, both are going to be in the mind and heart, but that's more in the heart. What distorts the information in the mind is the perception of the mind from receiving the soul's perception is false information. It's being a know-it-all. It's repeating the same old things that you always knew that were passed down from you, those opinions, the left brain, the personality, the ego loves to have opinions. Makes it just feel wonderful. So holding a question and refraining from opinion, obviously not to the point of danger or anything, but refraining from giving opinions, especially if you recognize that those are opinions you've had before and expressed before, even if only to yourself, that's going to open more of your consciousness to your soul roots, to your soul perception. So when it comes to our interaction in the world, that mostly triggers the heart. Let's say that somebody does look at you, sideways, or you think they do. So where are you going to react to that in this web of reactivity? What part of you is going to get triggered? You might feel ashamed. You might feel angry. You might feel hurt. You might feel alone. All those gullus words, all those left side of the chart words. Those things occur in the heart. On that level, the reactivity, on the grounded human level, we're walking around in this world where we feel small and vulnerable. We feel like the world is so big and so hard to deal with. And almost all of us, from a very early age, maybe even from before we're born, are carrying shame and self-judgment. And that usually gets aggravated even with best of parents. Most of us don't have the very best of parents because we're all just human. Anyway, so that's where the reactivity, where you want to transform the heart in order to establish your roots in the ground, in the physical, so that you can actually perceive with clarity, not what your soul is perceiving, but what's actually happening around you. Because most of us in this web of reactivity and cross-reactivity do not perceive what's actually happening. What we perceive is something that triggers a previous program that is connected to some gullus, some negative, some quote-unquote, no-level emotion in our hearts. So what do you do to work on that? Obviously, this is the Reader's Digest version. If you want to know more, you need to work with me more long-term, in depth. But for now, if you can be in touch with what you feel in your body when you're triggered, if you can ask yourself, what is the earliest time I remember having the same feeling? Very powerful question. What is the earliest time I remember ever having this same feeling that I'm having right now? This trigger feeling, this sad feeling, this judgment feeling, this helpless feeling, or whatever. If you can practice getting back to that and then sitting with the energy of the emotion, these are powerful, powerful tools. I don't know how much if this will allow for mastery, but if you're tuning in, if you listen to this again, if you practice, then yes, why not? Why not mastery? So when you can separate, you ask yourself that question, when was the first time I felt this? You're addressing the heart now. And the heart emotions we feel in our body as energy in our body. Very powerful secret. You really need to know this. So when you have a perception and you're just in your mind alone, okay, picture a lion roaring at you. So if there's actually no lion, and you never actually had an experience where a lion ran after you, or bit you or whatever, most of us haven't. So that's unlikely to trigger a physical feeling. It's an image. You might laugh at it, if you get into it really, really a lot, maybe, but that's because if that happens, that's because there's something that's connecting to your heart, to some trigger or trauma that's held in your heart and in your energy system. So when your emotions are triggered, from the lower roots perspective, from the world perspective, from our relationships, from our struggles to manage, to make money, to take care of our bodies, to manage our health, to manage all of the things that happen up to the personality in the body in the physical world. So those emotions are going to be experienced as energy in your body. So think about this: when you get anxious, when you get scared, where do you feel it? Feel it in your chest, in your stomach, in your forehead? Usually it's one of those. So if you can ask yourself again, when was the earliest time I had this experience? And then second question, where do I feel the energy in my body? Where do I feel the energy in my body? And then let's say it's in your chest. You want to let go of the story left brain blabbing. Okay? I suggest you listen to this video another time if you're serious about doing this. The fairy dust will be to practice this. These are very powerful, powerful tools that take in-depth integration and mastery to really, really change your life. But the left brain's busy blabbing. So usually we have the energy, we have an emotional trigger, somebody does something we don't like, or, a bill comes in that we didn't expect. These are big trigger things for us. We got rejected, whatever it might be, somebody yelled at us, whatever it might be. So the left brain starts to talk, starts to tell the same old story. Meanwhile, you have energy in your body because that's where our triggered emotions are experienced. So when you have the story, the left brain blabbering, combined with the sensation in your body, that's when the emotion will shut you down. That's when reactivity occurs. And that's when either you're going to react yourself, causing some kind of harm to yourself, if only that you're going to shut down and go to bed instead of, make that phone call or get on the treadmill or whatever it might be. But you'll have some kind, or if you project it out on somebody else and, yell at them or cry to them or whatever it might be. So you want to separate out in both cases in rectifying the roots of the mind, of the perception, the soul roots, or rectifying the interaction and reactivity in the earth level. You want to be very aware of the blabbing of the left brain. What you want to just notice and say thank you, but I'm not interested, as much as you can over the next several days at least. Better yet, over the next month. You want to say thank you, I'm not interested in hearing that same old opinion. And then you want to turn your attention. So even when you're looking at your emotions in the heart, you're going to have that same awareness of listening. You're listening to sensation in your body, not the story of the left brain about how this always happens, or what's going to be, or how am I going to manage, or I don't see any future, or this is really bad, or I'm a failure, I don't, but all that stuff, yes, it's going to go on because that's the little voice of the snake. It's just wired in there, but you can have a different way of dealing with it. And that's what I'm inviting you to step into right now. That will change things for you. So is this clear? I don't even see where I have not mastered this new app. So I don't even know if people are typing in. I don't see where the chat is. Anyway, I'll spend a little more time practicing on that. So in any case, I hope it's clear that you want to align your roots of your soul, your higher consciousness, into your brain and your everyday consciousness. So your brain and your personality, personality consciousness becomes a vessel for higher consciousness. And that is through listening, and pushing the automatic opinion generating to the side, quieting it down. Likewise, you want to connect to your body roots, the physical roots, to have clarified roots. Remember, the topic here is finding your place in the cosmic web. This is how you find your place, by getting into your roots above, getting into your roots below. And how do you do the roots below? How do you start that? When you get triggered, as we all do very frequently throughout the day, ask yourself, when was the first time I felt this emotion? So already you're listening and asking a question. This is the big key. Listening and asking a question gives you access to your higher mind, as long as you keep listening. Okay, and then you're going to feel, let go of the story of the left brain, feel where the energy is in your body of that emotion, and just give it space. Just listen to it. And as you do that, as you're in your heart listening, okay, and likewise when you're in your mind listening, or when you're learning mystical Torah, even better, because that's direct downloaded divine consciousness and divine presence. Anyway, as you're listening, things are shifting. And actually, I'll tell you that I have a lot of experience with energy healing. You may or may not know, I used to be the host of a popular telesummit for years, where I interviewed some of the preeminent energy healers, authors, and so forth in the world. And I learned a lot, and I interacted with those people a lot. And I've also been trained in various modalities, and I use it, and I have my own ways. The point is that I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that deep listening heals. It heals emotions. It heals relationships. It even can heal your body if you connect correctly. So I invite you to use what I'm sharing with you. And I'd love to know how it's going for you. And I think we'll leave it at that for today. See you tomorrow. Take care.